Hello there! Today I'm giving my own personal take on Power Rangers HyperForce and why I consider it to be the best Power Ranger season. Let's get right to it. Let's take a look at the premise. The story of HyperForce goes as follows. The Time Force Academy is suddenly invaded by an unknown evil that goes by the Alliance leader, and a team composed of cadets mentored by Jen Scott, the Pink Time Force Ranger, is sent back in time to capture him alongside the help of HyperForce Morphers, a version of Alpha, and the best time chip that Time Force can offer. It's a very similar premise to that of the original Time Force, and that's because this is actually a Time Force sequel taking place in the year 3016. Let's take a look at each one of our Rangers. Marv is the Red Ranger, and he's played by Peter Sudarso, who also played the Ninja Steel Blue Ranger. On HyperForce though, he's given a better story in terms of Power Rangers as opposed to his role in Ninja Steel. Out of all the Red Rangers, he's probably the one who had it the hardest. His team, much like himself, was composed of cadets who were just starting out. And they don't really have a mentor, so to speak. They're just kind of going with the flow, having only each other to support one another, and while ultimately that does lead to them getting closer as a family, Marv struggles a lot to carry the weight of being the Red Ranger, oftentimes avoiding the responsibility of leadership despite his team wholeheartedly trusting him to lead. Think of KC, for example, without an RJ or a Theo to help him ease into the role. In my opinion, he was an interesting Red Ranger and had a special dynamic with every single one of his team members, which I liked. With Eddie and Chloe, he grew to have a strong friendship, and Vesper became sort of like a little sister to him that he became overprotective of. With Jack, on the other hand, he had a little bit of tension due to some past history between them prior to the attack of the Alliance leader. However, it is quickly shattered when they realize the danger of the mission they're on. Initially, he joined the Time Force Academy to search for his missing brother, Joe, but by the end of it, he becomes laser focused on capturing the Alliance leader while keeping his team as safe as possible in the process. Jack is the Yellow Ranger, and he's played by Paul Schreier, who played Bulk in MMPR. His character here, though, is the exact opposite of Bulk. He's a by-the-book, no-nonsense type of guy, and in a way, he was the big brother to all the Rangers, seeing as he was the oldest member in the team. Despite him being older and not having the best relationship with Marv initially, he never once tried to be the leader, and always supported him as second in command. Their relationship was very similar to that of Cole and Taylor, though being two guys, they still tease each other a lot, and Jack seemingly wanted to push Marv to grow up and become the leader that the team needed. Eddie is the Blue Ranger, and he's played by none other than Andre Meadows from Black Nerd Comedy. I especially was really happy for him since I already followed his channel prior to him becoming a Ranger. He not only deserved it, but he actually crushed it on the show. He was a great Blue Ranger, and it's awesome to see that he got a chance to form part of Blue Ranger panels alongside the other Blue Rangers. Talking about his character though, Eddie was a really cool Ranger because he wasn't just a Ranger, he was also a Ranger fanatic. When it came to Ranger history, he was often on top of it, even though sometimes his history elements were a little all over the place. If you've seen Super Mega Force's Japanese counterpart, think of Guy from Gokaiger, but less in your face. While he has a good relationship with all of his team members, he was especially fond of Vesper, whom he had a crush on, and throughout the season, eventually he won her over. It was a very complex / potentially the most roller coaster romantic relationship in all of Power Rangers. I was all for it. It was really cute and ultimately the catalyst for a lot of the most intense drama in the show. Some of the most intense story moments revolve around him and his relationship with her. They were absolutely insane. Chloe is the Pink Ranger, and she's played by Megan Camarena, who later on would go on to voice Kimberly in a live-action reading of Shattered Grid, as well as Ranger Slayer in the video game Battle for the Grid. Much like Marv, she snuck into the academy in order to find her lost family members, in this case, her parents, not being totally okay with Time Force leaving them presumed dead. Out of all the characters, she's the one that's probably tied the most to the main story, seeing as one of the main villains ends up being her father. Prior to the academy, she was a Robin Hood type character, where she took things that didn't belong to her for the sake of others, much like Jack and Z from SPD. Ultimately, she's the bubbliest out of all the Rangers and super girly despite feeling that void in her heart towards her missing parents. She has a good relationship with her whole team, but towards the end of the show, she does deviate from them after she felt they weren't there for her when she was at her lowest. Her story and reconciliation with her team continues in a comic novel that follows the story of the show. She's my favorite Pink Ranger by a close second from her mentor Jen Scotts. Vesper is the Black Ranger, and she is played by none other than Christina V. She would also go on to voice Kimberly in the newest game Rita's Rewind and has done a lot of voiceover work. In the show, Vesper is the most chaotic not only out of the bunch, but also in all of Power Rangers. She's initially a stoic character who grows to trust her team quickly and opens up to her more silly, adventurous, and curious side. Turns out she's actually an android created and programmed to feel and act like a human by none other than Frax from Time Force. This leads to her always doing her best to trying to get to know herself, much like it happened with Matt when he found out he was an android. And also like him, she got to become a Sentinel Ranger. In this journey of self-discovery though, she is encountered with various traumatic experiences. Despite being the most fun and lighthearted of the team, she goes through some of the most intense moments in all of Power Rangers. Easily, she's the best Black Ranger in my opinion. Lastly, we have Joe, the Green/Sixth Ranger and Marv's older brother, played by his real-life brother, Yoshi Sudarso, who also played the Blue Ranger in Dino Charge. Sadly, his role as the Blue Dino Charge Ranger was significantly better. It was cool to see the reverse surprise reveal, but he was just kinda there afterwards. Originally, he was sent as the Time Force Silver Ranger undercover against the Alliance leader, but I don't recall that playing a huge role in the long run. He came a little late into the show and not much could be done. Sadly, we never got an official morphing sequence of him, nor did we get a second version of the opening with him included. He was also not in every episode after he joined, so it made it feel similar to how Tommy wasn't present in Dino Thunder as much for real-world reasons. His inclusion was cool nonetheless. He had an awesome looking suit, awesome looking Zord, cool weapons, and the power of invisibility. He seemed like a trained Time Force Ranger with experience that the other Rangers didn't have, which had a lot of potential for really cool stories with all 6 of them. Having gone through all the Rangers, let's talk real quick about all the other aspects that make HyperForce such a great season. The villains in HyperForce are a real threat, sometimes bringing the Rangers to the verge of death, or bringing inner struggles that hurt them mentally or emotionally. Some of the villains they faced are those from other seasons, such as the Putties, Scorpina, Kilobyte, Benjex, Dark Spectre, basically all of the ones that were at the dinner table in the first episode of Power Rangers in Space, where Andros was there as a spy. Which brings me to another awesome element, which was the team-ups with various Rangers or special figures across Ranger history. Unlike Super Mega Force, HyperForce proved to be a love letter to longtime Power Rangers fans. The individual stories each character has was already good enough and engaging on its own. But with every Ranger actor that came back, the Rangers learned something and it actually affected the characters moving forward. So it's not like in almost every season of Power Rangers where crossovers happen but are no longer referenced after the fact to focus on the story of the show. They're not just returning Rangers for the sake of fan service. They actually play a role in the lives of the team that we're following, which makes the returning Rangers even cooler. In person, we got Aisha, Tommy, Jem, Andros, Orion, and Jen. But the story does include characters like Doggy Kruger, Sentinel Knight, Zordon, and the entire Time Force team, just to name a few. To me, this was the real Gokaiger adaptation, and Gokaiger is my favorite Sentai season. In terms of music, it was really cool because they had some of the classics playing in the background for like the fights and also fitting music for specific moments. The format of the show was also very enjoyable despite not everyone being fond of it, but I'll explain why it was so cool. For starters, there's no traditional script for the show, so everyone is speaking and acting from the heart. There's no unnecessary cringy dialogue, no unnecessary comedic duo to separate the story, and it's still one of the funniest seasons ever. People could also join in on assisting the Rangers by paying supers, megas, and ultras, which gave the Rangers additional points on their rolls. leading them to potential success on whatever they were attempting, so in a way, the fans were also a part of their journey. The show was entirely narrated, so you had the power to envision the things that they were describing in the coolest way possible. Literally, there were no limits to what they could do, which is often a hurdle in the live action shows. The show wasn't necessarily directed at kids, as I said. The show was made thinking of longtime fans, which is what we've always wanted and we're likely not gonna get in live action. Every episode went on for hours, but it's a shorter season consisting around like 20 episodes. Sadly, it didn't get a second season due to Hasbro not wanting to continue it when they took over for Saban. The best continuation we got was the graphic novel thanks to Megan the Pink Ranger, but even then it doesn't close off the story. It's incredibly painful. It was doing so well in the eyes of many. It feels similar to how Spectacular Spider-Man was cancelled despite it being considered by many the best animated Spider-Man. Overall, the show was great, and it's still a fun watch. I absolutely recommend it. At that time, I was going through some difficult times in my life. Back then, I was lacking confidence and I was often sad, but HyperForce always saved me from that. They always made me laugh, and I even cried when some intense stuff happened. It will always hold a special spot in my heart, and that's why I consider it to be the best Power Ranger season ever. If there's anyone else who enjoyed HyperForce as much as I did, please share your thoughts on the comments. And if someone actually got inspired to give it a go, I would also like to know. Hope you have as much fun with it, even if it's just chilling in the background. The whole season is on YouTube, so you can watch it for free. Let me know if you'd like to see more of my takes on other seasons of Power Rangers, and I'll happily make another video like this one. That being said, God bless, and I bid you adieu.